I will say that postpartum was definitely one of those stages that we worked through, but now it feels, I mean, I said this to you, I would die without him. Like he is my biggest supporter in all aspects of my life. But for us, a really vital thing that got us through onto the other side in an even better way than I could have imagined was the division of labor stuff is so important.
Did this exist before the baby? Did you guys already have clarity around how you divide up labor in your relationship,
we had a
in your
dog,
home?
So like there was stuff around him kind of. But
I mean, I want to talk about this intentionally because I mean, you talked about this
I'm trying to
division
think of what
of
you
labor.
even have to do without a kid. Like,
I know, isn't it funny how once you have kids, you're just like, there's so much stuff. But realistically, there are things.
Right,
it's
there
like,
are things.
Who's taking the meat out of the fridge? Who is taking the trash out?
So
who's responsible for paying the bills and making sure they're paid? Or if something like I always talk about husband work or boyfriend work in the house, where it's like there's certain things like you reach the tall things on the shelf. You always take the trash out. If there's a bug, I'm not dealing. Like just certain things.
I'm the
like,
bug person, unfortunately, in our relationship.
So yeah, I'm just not.
But I think it was definitely divided, but it wasn't intentional. It just kind of was what happened.
Okay.
I like cooking. I like grocery shopping.
Same,
I was doing that.
Same.
Like there was a division, yes, but it wasn't like an intentional, let's sit down and work this through.
Okay. It just happened organically.
It just happened organically.
So I mean, some of that is when you're in a good partnership, you guys have that. And that's also a sign of a good partnership where you're able to divide the labor and it's working. So at what point did you say, which I think a lot of us, and I hope all my friends hear this because I'm hearing it, a lot of us don't ever think we need to sit down and intentionally divide the labor, or we're scared to have that conversation, which is telling, about dividing up the labor, partly because we think it's either A, going to be a lot of mental load. People do this in the businesses. I don't want an assistant because I don't want to have to train anyone. So how on earth did you do this? Like, it sounds unbelievable to me.
So for me, postpartum, I really struggled mentally. I had postpartum depression. I was just not in a great place.
Did that surprise you? Like,
no, because I've always kind of struggled with my mental health.
Okay.
What surprised me was the timing of it. It wasn't fresh. It was more around months like 4 to 6.
That's important for people to hear because people might mistake that for not postpartum related because they're like, the baby's been here.
It was more like I could survive living in his world. I had a really hard time him surviving in mine. And I was in his world for those first few months.
Sure.
It was just the three of us in the apartment.
And that's understood, expected.
Right.
Sure.
All that we had to do was everyone had to eat, poop, shower.
Yep.
And then once I started returning to work and like other aspects of my life, that's where
how do I find this balance?
Who
what
am
does this
I?
mean about
what do I
me?
talk about?
Yep.
What am I doing? So anyway, I was struggling mentally. He had a very limited paternity leave and I was breastfeeding at the time. We didn't have any help. It was just the three of us in the apartment for the first 3 months. And it naturally, unfortunately, the evolution of the female body, a lot falls on the female if you are breastfeeding, nursing, or pumping.
Easily. I mean, you got to keep the baby alive.
Yeah.
Period.
So it was just, in my opinion, a lot was falling on me, whereas he was doing a lot, but his were more tangible tasks that he could see and feel. And mine was more mental load. And so I could just feel this dichotomy shifting where I knew that he was doing things and he felt he was doing a lot.
So simple one then, grocery shopping and cooking. Was he picking that up?
We weren't really, we were like getting delivery and we weren't
like,
even
we just can't
cooking. Like
even,
people
not
were
even.
sending us food. Like that was the best gift you can give to anyone postpartum is food. Like
Put food in
our
my
friends
fridge.
were delivering food.
Oh
There was,
my gosh, guys, get you good people.
Good people.
Oh my gosh.
The best gift.
Yeah.
But I remember listening to this podcast and I forget the name of this person, but she has a card deck called Fair Play at Home. And there's basically a card for everything. Like writing thank you cards, writing birthday cards, buying birthday gifts, kids' classes, extracurriculars, doctor's appointments. Because like when I said I need more help, he's like, I'm trying to do everything while I'm still working. Like I'm doing as much as I can.
Guys think they're doing everything. I shouldn't lump, but it's been my experience that oftentimes guys will think they're doing so much because they don't realize. Like I had a conversation with my guy the other day where I was like, I came home and the house was a mess. And he's like, it's not a mess. And I was like, blankets aren't folded, the mail's in a pile over here. And he was like, oh yeah, but it's not much. And I was like, you don't realize how often I tidy.
Right.
Like just that, like I wake up, I get up and I'm picking up behind you, pushing in chairs, all this stuff. You don't realize that your clean home you're in. And now
standards are different.
And standards are different. And I'm willing to let it go if like, I always tell him when I'm not there for 4 days, I don't care about the daily tidying, just tidy before I get back,
Of
you know,
course.
that sort of thing. But you better believe that that was a mental load thing that he didn't realize, that
The
I
mental
have a
load
tidy
is
home.
so real,
It's
especially
real.
for mothers. And I
Yeah.
think that's what's hard to conceptualize on the other side of it.